What's going on, Action Army?
What's happening, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the official Action Army show.
Welcome to the most important hour of your life this week. If you're not watching this show, you're probably a Jackass or a Lion's Den fan.
Yeah, guys, it's basically a fucking call to action. Just kidding, it's exactly what it is, okay? This is the intro to Call to Action, the single most important piece of content you're going to ingest in the next 7 minutes.
If you love Action Army and you love Ben and Drew, then this is the place to be. And if you don't love us, well, then fuck you.
Go buy a suit, get it fitted, get the pants tailored so the length is just right and the break of your pants looks fantastic, get a bottle of Jameson, and get on fucking board.
Peace out.
What's up, assholes? Welcome back to the Call to Action podcast. I'm James.
It's Melissa.
And I'm Danny.
All right.
And I'm
let's
Danny.
jump right. Oh, right. Yeah. Hello. Hi, Danny. Hi. Let's jump into it since we missed a week. Sort of sucks that we missed last week since it was one of the biggest weeks of the year. But whatever. Not like it mattered, right? Only the Patriots lost. Not a big deal. But yeah, talking about that one, let's get into that first defense match. Pats versus ATL. What y'all think?
I'm sure Melissa has a lot to say, so I'll let you guys talk about your happy feelings, and I'll come in afterwards.
Yeah, I was pretty happy that the Patriots lost, as I think most people were. So that was very exciting. It was a pretty good match, and it was nice to see it go down. I'm kind of surprised there was no Patriots contention after the match. I kind of expected something with the Patriots to be kind of dramatic after the match, and didn't really come across that way. So, but yeah, as far as the match goes, it was good. It's nice to see Drew get a belt. It's cool that Sam is the first double belt holder, and yeah, exciting.
I will say, I think the reason I didn't get too riled up after the match was probably just because that they're gonna have the next defense. I think it was at Collision, is what Sam said. But first of all, Patriots lost. Yeah. All right, got out of my system. Fun fact: I nearly fist pumped my arm right out of my sockets because I hate the Patriots that much. I feel like over the past 2 weeks, or even the past 3 weeks, each time we've been saying like, "Oh, this is the best match of the year. This is the best match of the year," and it kept consistent with this one. Like, it was just back and forth, constant competition. I am so glad that, as much as I hate the Patriots, they went into this 9-0, and they very easily could have been 10-0, and they could have thrown the match for story purposes or whatever is happening right now. But I am so happy that when they went in full effort. There was never a question that they were half-assing it or that they went in knowing they would lose. It was a pure fight to the death. And before we get into the specifics of the match, Danny, do you want to expand on it at all?
Yeah, it was pretty. It was one for the ages, I would say. A lot better than the last title defenses, and having it come down to the final question, very reminiscent of the actual Patriots against the New York Giants, and just that miraculous times when ATL seems to be that team that Patriots have that struggle with. And I'm sure we're going to talk about the Iron Man match a little bit, but it was pretty good. I was excited to see a new champion, but it was quite a run. They had defended it for a year and a half, but it's nice to see a new champion, and it's pretty good. I mean, they're boring, so we'll just have to wait until Team Action takes the belts. But for now, I'm happy with the results.
I think the two biggest sort of things to come out of the match, at least during the match, were the challenges. So let's go over the successful one first. Big Trouble in Little China. Like none of us are gonna argue with that, right? Like we all agree
Nope.
it's a totally legitimate challenge, and Karloff was correct in giving him the wrong answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the bigger one is Snyder challenging McMeany with The Thing. How do you all feel about that?
I mean there is no movie called Thing, so The Thing is what it was.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I agree.
And I really believe that if the Patriots didn't waste that first challenge, they could have gotten that from Sam's mess up in the second round when they asked for the question. They could have won that challenge had they kept the had they not used up the challenge in the first round.
I do agree with giving them the point because but I feel like it was for the wrong reason. Like the idea of there's no movie called Thing, I feel is really stupid because you could do that with pretty much any other question. But it's just to me, it's that there is no movie called Thing in the conversation. Like if you're asking about another actor who's in a movie called Thing and The Thing, it makes sense. But here it's like people know that Thing was never an actual movie. I forget what the original is called. I think it's The Thing from Another Planet. Like if you're talking about strictly that, The Thing would be a lot more difficult to award. But yeah, again, I think rewarding the point was good. Just the reasoning behind it wasn't sound.
I tend to, well, I kind of agree with James in the sense that, like, I thought the reason that they gave being that, well, there's no movie called Thing was kind of just, I think they were trying to pull something out of their rears to come up with something that makes sense. When really all they should have done was, I mean, in any facet of society, in journalism, in anything, an article being left off of a phrase does not change the phrase. So, I mean, it's always been that an article preceding a proper noun or a proper title or something like that, an article that precedes that is not considered essential to that title. That's just how it's always been. That's how it is in grammar. That's how it is in journalism. So Thing and The Thing are the same thing, and the part of it is not required. And I think Sam kind of touched on that when he challenged it, that articles are not required. So I really wish when they came back with a decision, they would have phrased it in a way saying articles are not required, rather than changing it to be, well, there's no movie called Thing. Because now it doesn't really establish a precedent going forward on, okay, do you have to use articles or do you not? Because there's no precedent set, whereas they could have established something during this match. So, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed in how that played out, but I think it was ultimately the right decision to leave it.
I would normally agree with you. However, I feel like the article itself is so important to the title because it's only 2 words. If it was any other movie, I totally agree with you. But the fact that it's so singular again is not the wrong word. It's whatever singular is times 2.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I feel like it's essential to the title. But that's, again, I agree that the point should have been rewarded.
But there has to be kind of a line to draw there, and that's where they could have established a precedent in this match. Because, like, for example, a streetcar named Desire, for example, if you leave the off, streetcar named Desire is, I mean, that's still, anyone would consider that the same thing as A Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what you're saying, that like considering it's only like a 2-word thing. I mean, oh, no pun intended, but considering it's only a 2-word thing, it really does make a lot. I mean, it does kind of, it rounds out the title to be the thing. But that's why they should have used this as an opportunity to firmly establish one way or the other, is an article necessary or is it not? And I don't think it's fair to kind of like play both sides of it and say, well, in some cases it is necessary and in some cases it's not. So I just think this is an opportunity they could have taken instead of just saying, well, yeah, it's just because there's no title out there called that.
And before I get into round 5, which I feel like is the next, big marker, do you guys want to bring up anything else?
No, like I said, I think that if the Patriots didn't challenge in the first round with the one answer that Sam had in the second round, they probably could have challenged that, and then they would have gotten it overturned, I think.
Yeah. And a little bit of a plug for those of you who don't listen to it. Showdown Rundown had a great interview with both Above the Line and Sam individually. And one of them said that challenge from Snyder was them getting under their skin. And I feel like, as we see with these 2 matches and one we'll get into later, keeping your head within the game, as you can see from this match, is really important to the overall quality of your success. If you get riled up or you lose it, you can have devastating losses.
I mean, you just look at Roca and all the times that he's come in and lost his temper and lost his cool, and people got into his head, and he started off well, and then he just something threw him off, and then he wound up losing the matches. For example. And I think that's why Sam has proven to be one of the best overall players of understanding how to play the game, which is why he's the double champion now.
And then we come to round 5. And in the perfect bookend to the Patriots' career, because we know they're going to lose the Iron Man match, their final question, they throw in the towel, they're done, and they guess Robert Duvall. And I am so happy, because I think they've done that before where they just guessed Duvall and they got it right. That might have been in a previous defense, I think. But that is just so satisfying to have them lose on him.
Yeah, I would have gotten that question wrong. So.
Yeah, I think Robert Duvall was as good a guess as any, and like I didn't know the answer, so if it was going to be Robert Duvall, I was going to be like livid. So I was glad they got it wrong.
Yeah, and I don't think there's much to talk about after the match, other than that Iron Man match. As I just said, I wholly think that Above the Line is going to destroy the Patriots for that. But what do you guys feel in the match?
Yeah, I agree. I don't see the Patriots really doing well in that kind of durability. I think, like as we're talking about, keeping our head in the game, and McWeeny is a machine, and he can just go on and just keep answering questions, and I think JTE or Jeff, if they get a little bit frustrated with the way the question's being asked or something, they can fall apart easily. So I feel like in terms of that, they got a great advantage.
Yeah, I think it really just depends. What it comes down to is how many questions are in what particular categories. So, I mean, animated movies, if they have a significant chunk of animated movies included in the question lineup, that could be a game changer. I mean, I'm sure they're going to incorporate a lot of the strengths of each team, and they'll probably incorporate a lot of the weaknesses of each team. And so I guess it just comes down to which categories they end up going with. So, I mean, generally speaking, I would give the edge to above the line. Like, I mean, I think all things equal, it would be above the line. But just depending on what categories and questions come up, I could see it not being as much of a blowout as it probably should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be a blowout. I'm just saying that in terms of being level-headed, I mean, like I said, McQueenie is, when we think of Iron Man matches, a lot of times people say they want to see McQueenie in an Iron Man match or an Ethan Irwin, kind of those reserved kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I'm just remembering, just to backtrack a bit, hopefully you guys remember my incredible burn, but something I peddled around not only our group chat, but also every page I could. The second the Patriots change their title song, they lose. And you know why they lost?
Yep. They
Because
jinxed it by
No, it wasn't a jinx.
disgracing.
They did exactly. They disgraced the great name of Freddie Mercury, and that is what you get.
Yes.
If you want to use his music, don't be an asshole. Like,
Well, here's the thing. They were kind of chicken about it, too, because, they didn't even go, like, full all out by changing their music, because they used that music, but then they also use their own. So they didn't even really have the full, they didn't have the full gumption to completely change it. They, played both sides, and they did both. So that makes it even worse. Like, either have the guts to change it completely or leave it the same, like they should have done. So, yeah.
I have a feeling that one thing is like a jinx, and they'll never change their music again, and for good reason. Because I am honest, I do think Freddie Mercury's ghost has rightfully caused them to lose.
Yeah, he probably, if he was around today, he probably would not be a Patriots fan.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Because as we all know, the ghost of Freddie Mercury loved the Schmodown.
He did.
Mm.
Right. And then on to the next match, Sam Levine versus Clark Wolf in Sam's second title defense, and also his second one against a member of the Shire Wolves. And with Clark's loss, yeah, this is a great sign for the live show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just general match overview. What did you guys think?
Basically, again, we got it was closer than I expected. We'll talk about the round 3.
5.
How I don't think I've ever witnessed anything like that before. Yeah. Round 5. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then the sudden death. We'll talk about that later. But my overall impressions, I mean, Clark did well. I was impressed with how she did throughout the match, and I think she gave it a valiant effort. But Sam redeemed himself after losing to her in the first time. And as I said, I think the time from when he began to now, we can really see the growth of how he has become probably one of the best, knowing how to play the game overall, the strategies and everything else that takes to be a champion.
Yeah. Well, so not to borrow a page from Mark Ellis's book, but this is probably going to sound like something he would say, but so championship week, it kind of felt like 2 different baseball games, and the double match felt like a baseball game that was like everyone is getting hits, everyone is hitting home runs, it's like high scoring, it's like 12-11, and people just keep hitting home runs and keep passing each other in the score, and it's really like a high scoring game. And then this match Sam and Clark match felt like sort of like a pitcher's duel where like no one can do anything right, no one can get on base. Like maybe someone will get on base here and there, but no one can quite go one up on the other one. And it's just like a back and forth of kind of who can make the least mistakes. And that's sort of what I think it felt like. I felt like the one, and they're both like really good games. But they're just really good games for different reasons. And so the doubles match felt like just kind of this high octane match. And then this match felt like a very like chess match type deal. So I really liked it equally, I think, with the doubles match. But and I was glad at the result. I know that it was close. I never felt like Sam was in danger of losing the belt. I don't know why. It never felt like he was in danger. And I don't know if it's because of that speed round. I just, I kind of put 5 in the bank for him automatically. I know he didn't get all 5, but just in my mind, I kind of think, okay, well, Sam's going to get a bunch in that round. And so I just never felt too worried for him. But I was glad at the results. So that's my overview.
Melissa, you're forgetting that you're talking to a bunch of nerds. We don't understand sports, so
Yes.
baseball went over our head, literally. So
What is the sports ball
But,
you speak of?
Okay. Well, Sam would appreciate it.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't really get much from the match. As you saw with my faction last episode, I was really focusing on the entrances, and I don't expect anything from Sam. I was disappointed with Clark, because as we've seen with all the matches so far, Fife Club have really made a presence with their entrances. And this time it was just like, we got Hungry Like a Wolf. Ooh, and they're hugging. Like, we had a League of Their Own last time. Like, you can, like, it's a pretty high bar. You can still set your game up, though. Like, at least try.
Well, Clark is known for being cringe, so it kind of fits into her character, kind of. But even with the Wolves of Steel, they used to kind of at least dress up in ones. But
You and Aixa both
Yeah.
are just, you guys
was
hate
felt a
on her
little
so
short.
much.
shortchanged. No, I'm just saying it was a little cringy. But she used to dress up with the horror theme,
Like,
but we didn't even get that,
yeah,
which was a little disappointing.
their entrance on their first match against the Wildberries was just perfect.
Yeah, that was probably that one entrance of the year, didn't, or was nominated, if I recall.
Yeah, I believe it was nominated. I forgot which one won, though.
Yeah, but anyway, I miss seeing that, because if you're gonna play into that kind of hey buddy kind of thing, at least go all the way with it. But just coming out, just hugging one another and high fiving. I don't even remember the entrance that well.
Exactly.
But we should also talk about her in her speed round, as Melissa was saying, how we all expected Sam to just dominate there. But how they posted on Twitter maybe a week ago, how they were practicing and stuff. So despite how we may hate on the Five Club and make fun of them and stuff, but you could see that they were really studying and, showing a camaraderie, at least. And it kind of paid off. How do you feel about that?
I like that they're so close. And I wish more competitors did stuff like that, where they made videos just like, "Hey, look, we're so close, and we're practicing and really wanting to get better." But it sucks.
Yeah.
The Fight Club doing.
Even if it's
Yeah, okay, as I'm sure most of you know, there's a big, not even meme, but sort of just a question going around the league right now, or fan page. Is Fife a heel? Because she
yes.
just because there's not really a better way to phrase it, she's an asshole. She's arrogant, and she has this sort of oeuvre about her that just is not fun. And at the same time, she's championing one of the most dominant leagues dominant factions in the league. And I want more people to sort of, take that next step and do this openly broadcast practicing. But not Fight Club, anyone but.
Yeah, but as I was saying, like you have to kind of tip your hat to the fact that they're kind of like, they show that they are a team. They come out together for every match. They even give Drake a little role to do to dress up as a Charlie's Angel. So
Probably still the best entrance of the year so far.
definitely in the top conversations. So do we want to talk about the sudden death and the fifth round? The questions?
Sure. I have them written out. So, in their entire round 5, none of them scored any points, and
Has that happened before?
I don't think so. And all the conversation I've heard about it, this is fairly new. There have been really low scoring ones, but not 0 for 10. And that pretty clearly is because all 3 of their questions were their weaknesses. Sam got animated, horror, and classics, which I think is one of his strengths, but it was generally a pretty difficult question. And then Clark got comedy, scores and soundtracks, and fantasy sci-fi, which, granted, she's not as high.
Yeah, can we talk about the animated question too?
Okay, that animated was not worth 2 points. That was a 5-point question.
It's probably the most obscure Disney movie. Like, only maybe a hardcore Disney fan would probably even know it. Off the air, I was talking about the only reason why I knew that was because my dog was named Milo. But, I mean, someone whose weakness is an animated, and you're talking about one of, like, the biggest failures of Disney movies for a 2-point question.
I wouldn't even consider it like a weakness thing, because animated is one of my strengths, and I still had no idea. Because, like, asking for a voiceover artist is difficult enough as it is, because they don't get the publicity as, most actors do. But on top of that, it's one of the smallest Disney films that nobody has seen. And you're not even asking, like, main character. You're giving a name, so it could be anyone from the cast.
Question, Melissa, did you know the answer to that one?
I did, yes. But here's the thing: if you had asked me a plot question regarding that movie, I would have been probably in the weeds. If you had asked me probably any other question about that movie, I probably would have been in the weeds. I think the only reason I kind of knew it, and I think anyone who might have known it, is just because Milo Thatch is one of those sort of cult-like characters that, like, people have, like, crushes on and stuff. Like, you'll see memes about him sometimes, or you'll see like you'll see things on, like, Pinterest about him, or just things like that. Like, he's just one of those characters that, like I said, it's sort of like a cult-like status. So the only reason I really knew him is because just that particular character I'm familiar with. So I did, but it's a tough question. It is a really tough question. And I mean, minus people like myself who look at Disney stuff all the time, it would be hard. It would be hard.
Plot-related
or name
question.
their dog after it.
Like, in Atlantis, the Lost Empire, what long-lost city do they go and look for? Yeah. Do you guys remember any of the other questions?
Do you know which ones Clark had? topics.
No. Clark's were just like, I don't know why they didn't stand out to me as much, but Sam's were like animated one. That was a 5-point question. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna like give any leeway on that. I think it's genuinely 5 points. His horror question though, it's like I feel like that's incredibly easy, especially with the Zack Snyder remakes that put so much of a larger modern emphasis on the Dead franchise. I think you call it. Even just guessing Dawn of the Dead, which is what I did, I feel like would have gotten you a lot farther than wasting. I think you did 2 repeats on it.
Okay, and so then we went into sudden death.
And it makes me so happy that of all the questions Sam wins on, he wins on an animated question.
Was it the Rango?
The Krugs.
Yeah.
Oh, the Crew.
He won on a terrible animated movie. I'm sorry. I know there are people who like it, but no, not me.
Yeah, I don't even
That was an
remember
easy
that.
question though, right?
So-
It wasn't just me. Like,
I
what
think it was hard. I think it was hard in the sense that it kind of gets forgotten. It's like when you think of like animated movies, like you kind of immediately go to Disney Pixar, and then you might go to like DreamWorks, and then like you kind of and I mean I know that the Crudes are DreamWorks, but I mean it's just one of those things where like you kind of go like in the back of your mind like Disney, Pixar, Shrek, like you think of all these like big franchises and big animated situations, and like I think it can be like really easily forgotten. So that's why I thought it was kind of tough, because you only have so much time to think about it, and unless you know it, and clearly Sam knew it, I don't think it's going to be one you're going to guess.
I don't know. Like to me, like it was just really simple because like what animated movie has voices by Nicolas Cage, and that's all you need because Cage doesn't really do animated movies. And if he's gonna do any of them, it's the one where 90% of his dialogue is gonna be like he's not even has to try to act. It's just
that's all I know. Is it was the movie with the caveman, but
yeah.
I never saw it. So
Neither have I. I just know there's a sequel that's probably even worse. Yeah. Do you guys have any more thoughts on it?
No, other than just like really excited that Sam has defended, has really done well on defending his title. I honestly thought he would defend it once and be done, so I'm really happy to see him kind of keeping it on.
Yeah, I was kind of worried that they were gonna drive the whole "we want a female champion" and it was gonna turn out to be like the Christian Harloff defense title in the back of my mind. But I know that Sam isn't that kind of competitor. So once that once the match actually started, I didn't really feel like I didn't really feel worried for him. But in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe they want that part of the narration. But if she did win, kind of like on that, I think it would have been a cheap way for her to become a champion. So, I don't see. I mean, I can see them coming back again. Definitely, I can see Rachel again. One of them.
Yeah. And then we move on to the actual match that matters. Action versus DC movie news, which
Yes. We got a lot to say, right?
it's easily my contender for best match of the year. And I'm a major proponent of #heel watch. So when
heel watch.
yeah, so when the post match interviews came, I was giddy, and I still am a little bit.
And let's just talk about even like his whole demeanor, even in the pre-match. Like Roxy kind of just popped in, and he was just like, he like you saw it from the beginning. He was ready to like flip his shit. Like, he was gonna leave either way.
Yeah.
We
I personally, okay, I'm personally not a huge fan of heel watch. The only reason being, like, in this sort of environment or culture of like the WWE type of stuff, like, I I want someone who's going to be like rock solid about like what they say, and I want there to be people that are just evil all the time. I don't want people that go back and forth and they're evil, then they're good, then they're evil, then they're good, or back and forth, back and forth. So, like, to me, I want someone that if they're good always. If they're bad always. Like, I know that, like, I know for storyline purposes, you do have to have some of these people that are kind of in flux, like John Roca. Like, you have to have some people that are kind of wishy-washy and stuff like that. But
Fife.
when Kalinowski said, I'm never going heel, I'm never going heel, I'm never going heel, like, I really, like, not that I like Kalinowski necessarily, I just wanted like him to be kind of like one of the situations where they kind of stick to their word and not go the WWE flip it route. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my personal take on it. But we are making the mistake here, or I guess I'm making the mistake here, but in so much of the stuff that I have seen after this match, so much of it has centered around Kalinowski and DC Movie News and that whole drama. And I have just been like, hey, Team Action won the match. We should be talking about Team Action. And everyone just wants to talk about DC Movie News and Mike Kalinowski. And I'm just like, hey, let's talk about the real people here. So, yeah.
And that's why we have this podcast. We're going to talk about Action Army.
Yeah. I'm not gonna take ownership of this idea, but I saw a couple people say it in the spoiler thread, I think. Quoting the Joker, all it takes is one bad day. And to me, one of Mike's big most iconic entrances was wearing his Batman outfit or suit, whatever. So I think it fits to his character really well. He tried his heart out. He really he gave it all, and he still lost. And whether that be because Gertler isn't as good of a player as he is, even though Mike has lost his last 8 matches, or maybe just because Action is infallible, which they are. It was just a bad day.
Or the fact that DC hasn't played in how many months?
Yeah, exactly. So
they kind of just disappeared, and their faction kind of disappeared for how many months, and then they are expected to come and be like a good team.
Yeah, it's like, look at us, we're the league, we're a serious faction. You have one team and one singles player. The other 2 members don't do anything. You're not a faction. You're a bunch of hype men. But again, one bad day, I think, is a philosophy that really fits to Mike. He thought he was this big champion of justice. And then after one bad match, he goes full heel.
It wasn't even a bad match, I don't think. And like, I think people are coming down on Gertler, but I mean, 26 points in a doubles match is nothing to sneeze at. So I feel like Gertler held up, his side of it. Like, yeah, no, maybe he didn't get everything, and maybe in the James Bond category that was more Kalinowski's like strength. But I don't think Gertler is necessarily a slouch, and I think that he did as well as he could have done. And like I said, 26 points, that's a legit score. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Kalinowski's getting a whole lot of credit and Gertler's getting a whole lot of doubt. And we'll see. I think this will expose things now that he's kind of heading out on his own.
I think normally I would agree with. Sorry.
It'll be okay. I think Kalinowski's only getting that much credit because he swept that round 2.
But that was his category.
That's the thing, though. If it was any other category where Gertler could have helped, he wouldn't be ragged on so much.
Right.
But since Mike was so dominant in James Bond, that is the reason why people are mad at Gertler, because he didn't have a voice. And that's nothing against him. That's just props for Mike, despite the fact that he lost.
Yeah, and then another thing is, in round one, Gertler got four questions right. Mike got 5, and people who doubt Andrew and say that Ben carries him, he outscored them both. He got 6. So normally I would agree with you, Melissa, but this definitely was kind of like the Mike Kalinowski show.
It was, but
Adam was
I
kind
think
of like out of.
I think
Adam
if
didn't
I
really do anything this much.
I think if I remember correctly, I think the ones that Gertler missed, I think Mike missed them too a lot of the time. If I remember correctly, I don't want to say every single one, but if I remember correctly, I do think Gertler was missing the exact same ones Kalinowski was missing. Like, they're only like 1 point apart, and it wasn't like Gertler was missing them and Kalinowski was like, "Oh, how did you not know that?" And because he knew it too. I mean, I think they were kind of both missing simultaneously. So with Adam, I mean, not to get too much outside of the show, I mean, he has like professional obligations away from the Schmodown that, I mean, he may not be able to be a face here forever. So whether he'll stick around or not, I think that'll be his own choice, and not that he'll be like driven out by people that are like, "Oh, you suck," or stuff like that. So
yeah, and Mike, I mean, is an actor and Gene Virgin, so. But
What do you guys think of
we can talk about the first round. Do we want to recap the first round or round by one? Or?
If you want, I was going to talk about the post match interview, so I can wait.
Well, let's just talk about round 2, like how about opponent's choice.
And again, I'm going to plug Showdown Rundown again, because interviewing the actual competitors goes a long way. Ben doesn't have a weakness. He said on there that Bond was the only category he did not want. So by DC taking it, it's just like opponent's choice. Do what you want. And as we saw, didn't hurt.
Yep.
Surprisingly enough, the only category that they can really be shaken in is action, and luckily it wasn't on the wheel this time.
Yeah,
I was really surprised they did not take movie release dates, because I mean, sometimes those can be like really easy, and sometimes they can be like really tough. So I'm kind of surprised on that.
Yeah, about that. Again, with the Schmodown Rundown, they discussed that. That is actually a strength of Ben. He said that he gets that mostly 80% of the time. And they also said that Bond was the best and worst thing that Mike could have done, because that was the one category on the wheel that they didn't want at all. And everyone that they had a legitimate shot at.
But you know what? I wonder, I don't know if they mentioned that on the Schmodown Rundown, but like, I wonder if they would have even given him James Bond. Like, because, I mean, James Bond is kind of actionish, so I wonder, even if it was on the table, if they would have given it to him. I don't know if they mentioned it or not.
Well, maybe you should listen to it.
Yeah, and just one more point that I wanted to make was, they also mentioned that part of playing the game is studying your opponents. So if DC paid attention, they would have known that fantasy sci-fi is a category they already did, and they also did really well in that against Deep Cuts, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Deep Cuts, so
yeah, but still,
the player is now our commissioner, not an actual player.
Yeah, tap. But anyway, like I was saying, just being able to understand the way the game is played, and that's I think where team action shines because they put on a good performance. They know how to talk smack, but they can also play the game too. And the record is now 6-3.
Is it 3? Have they? Was it 3?
Yes, they've lost to
Yes.
I think they
Action,
lost
they've
two.
lost to Top 10, and they lost to someone
Nerds Watch.
in the early days. Nerds Watch, right?
Oh, okay. For some reason, I was thinking
Each
they
time
only
when
lost
Andrew-
2, but
No. Each time Andrew invited somebody, they lost. He said.
And that's another note on the Throwdown Rundown, so maybe, Melissa, you should listen to it.
sorry, Showdown Rundown people. I'm very, very sorry. I'm lucky I'm even on this right now, so yeah.
Yes, so as you can tell, she hates everyone who hosts it. Frank Janish, Chris Clark, get your fighting
We
words
like
ready.
Brad Gilmore though.
Yeah,
Brad
Brad.
Gilmore's awesome.
Schmodown Civil War. Schmodown Rundown versus those action guys, whatever.
Post match.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
We already sort of talked about heel watch and countdown seat turning. My biggest question is, how do you guys feel about Gertler's acting?
A+. I
Plus.
loved the execution of the whole acting from. I legitimately bought it a little bit. There was a little bit of tear, but because it was team action, I mean, it was replaced by laughter when team action came back on. But I felt a little bad. I mean, I still have a heart just because I'm part of Ruthless Team Action and the Action Army. But I thought it was one of the better post matches. But there's another better one that's coming up pretty soon.
I thought his acting was like, I don't know how I feel about his acting. I thought I don't know what I think about it, but he's just adorable. So just thinking of him like
You think
acting
everyone's
like
adorable?
just seeing him looking like the sad, pathetic lost puppy was just like it makes me laugh a lot. Clearly, I'm just like chuckling. So whether it was good acting or bad acting, I don't care. It was hilarious.
Okay, Melissa. Clearly, you don't have a heart, but let's get back to the topic at hand.
Okay.
Yeah, Danny. Let's get into the action post-match interview since you seem to be such a fan of it.
Oh yes, that's funny. They made someone cry. He's crying. Hilarious.
Oh, I am glad that like now DC New News is known as the Crybaby team, which just makes me really happy.
One thing I wanted to mention before we move on: how do you feel about Mike's complaining about taglines as opposed to quotations?
That is so stupid. Like,
it's two completely different topics.
Yeah, quotes are in the movie, taglines are on the poster.
And taglines are so much harder because half the time I'm not paying attention to the poster. But the only reason why I remember something about Mary is just the iconic J's on the hair.
Yeah. And like I didn't even
love
know
is in the hair.
Yeah, the love is in the hair.
Literally love is in the hair.
Yeah, it's
but
a
that's
joke.
not love.
Well, that's the joke.
Yeah. There's love.
I mean, sometimes it's love,
That's
but
how
sometimes
babies
it's
are
not.
Well, that's how babies are come from.
Okay.
This is
TVMA. Just getting. This is getting a little bit too outside.
You know what? Kalinowski brought it up, so we're gonna finish the discussion. No pun intended.
Yeah, damn it. Deal with it.
Okay.
All right. So let's get away from the sex talk and move on to the drunk talk. Makuga versus Howard. General thoughts.
Wow,
before we
berries.
Wow, berries. Any general thoughts before we dive into it?
As always, Makuga is more for entertainment. Maybe not necessarily the best matches, but you know that you're always going to get a fun match. And you're always going to get a fun, sassy entrance from the Great One, the Queen Slay.
What was our
And
What was it this week? I forgot.
Clueless, as if.
Oh,
My favorite.
right, because I haven't seen Clueless. I don't remember.
Shane and Janine came out.
Dang.
I
Yeah.
make up for it by seeing Mean Girls 20 times.
Nope.
No, you need to see Clueless. That's a. Nope. What are you saying? Nope.
Mean Girls is better. I'm sorry.
You
I-
haven't seen it. How do you know?
Because I know Mean Girls is better. For every one quote you can give me from Clueless, I can give you 5 from Mean Girls.
Well, listen. If we didn't have Clueless, you wouldn't have had Mean Girls. So respect the legends.
Hmm.
Don't be a jaboni.
Ooh. I like my modern stuff. Me and my generation
Like-
Z mind
Like
or
our
whatever
dance
I'm
category.
in. So yeah, back to the discussion before I turn a whining baby.
Before.
You want to go, Melissa?
Melissa, you're gonna be on timeout. This might be her very last appearance, guys.
Bye, guys.
We're gonna just replace her with a robot.
We're getting canceled next week
A host.
anyways, so we're gonna get used to it. It's not gonna be a big difference.
We were supposed to get canceled 3 episodes ago.
And 4 episodes ago, and 5 episodes ago.
Yep, episode 7.
Go
Apparently,
ahead.
you guys still like this shit show, but
Like honestly, I don't remember much from the match other than just Makuga being Makuga.
dance categories.
Oh right, yeah.
Am I the
dance.
only person? Am I the only person in the world that loves dance
You
categories?
and Brienne, and that's it.
I flip out like a little girl. I was screaming because there's literally only like 3-4 movies that are dance movies.
Exactly. So we saw that with Makuga. After the first question, he's just like he's guessing all of them with center stage, and eventually he gets it right.
Center stage is the ballet one.
Well,
Stomp the
it's
Yard
still
is the one with
dancing,
Chris
the fact
Brown
that
and
you have to
Megan
look
Good.
at pool, It damages the categories because then you don't have to have competitors study as much.
Mhm.
Like even like drama is purposefully broad. Comedy is purposely broad. Even the more specific categories have really deep cuts. Dance,
So would you categorize? Would you want to like combine dance and musicals?
to an extent, I think I think that more musicals are dance movies and vice versa. However, I think I'm okay with adding a couple dance movies to musicals, only if they're fitting. I haven't seen a lot of dance movies, so I wouldn't know what crossover there is. But if musicals can be dance movies, I'm sure there's a couple exceptions that can be made the other way.
What's Melissa? Have you seen a lot of dance movies in your lifespan?
No, I think it's pretty limited. But I think it's one of those categories it's only brought out. It's not brought out a whole lot. So, I mean, I'm kind of okay with it being by itself for a while, but it's just going to be more deep cut and deep cut and deep cut. And there's like maybe 2 people in the entire competition who's going to have any chance at it. So,
And me.
and Danny. So I'm sorry. I have no opinion.
Yeah. So guys, just be thankful that I don't have a Patreon because I would use all my Patreon money and put a dance category on the wheel every single time.
And this week from our patron, Danny Cost. Movies.
With dance again, motherfucker.
Oh my god, if Dance Movies comes to the live event, I'm gonna be so livid.
Unless
Spot-
Charles get it.
Oh, if Shy Wolves get it, I will be standing up, screaming, throwing my sign around.
Stomp the yard. But I mean, come on, guys. That's the one with Chris Brown in it. Chris Brown was
That's
like
not a
only
good
in like 2 or 3 movies.
I don't think we should be talking about that like it's something to be like an
Probably the worst
accomplishment.
than that film.
And I guess calling it Stomp the Yard with Chris Brown.
That's like saying, "Oh, I love Ghost Dad. Bill Cosby is great."
So I can no longer enjoy my pudding and jello.
No. Just meant there's a Bill Cosby category. It's like you spun. Let's just spin away from it. You just move it, take over. Like, okay, you get another one.
It's a ghost category.
Danny is going to be sponsoring Dance and then Harvey Weinstein movies. Like that's going to be his 2 things.
Honestly, that wouldn't be a bad category otherwise, because it's still a say that a year ago. It's fine.
They probably have like a Harvey Weinstein like wedge somewhere that they've like hidden away. They're
It's
like
going cobwebs.
probably not.
I'm just imagining it's like someone just walks into a closet or something and it's staring them right in the face.
That's the closet Emma got locked into. It's just like the rejected wheel slices.
What are we
Alright.
talking about?
So
I don't
so
know.
Stacy got directors. Stacy got directors in the second round.
And she got incredibly easy questions.
Got incredibly easy questions.
Especially that last one where it's like, even she knew, like, oh, that's so obvious. And everything else was just like, oh, it's so obvious, and she still whiffed on it. Even though I really don't remember what her questions were.
So we should probably talk about the most important thing, besides that Stacy is 4-1 now, which is the post match.
I don't remember.
Easily, maybe one of the best. The post matchup,
Yeah.
post interview.
the Pope.
Oh,
platform.
Makuga, right.
Makuga.
Wildberries.
This is the pilot. The
Wild
pilot
berries.
to Jen and Josh's sitcom.
And J&J going around and taking a podium in random places, getting drunk and screaming. It's like,
Yell it.
oh my god. What's the show where the guy from Parks and Rec goes around and screams at people for $1?
Something in the street.
I think it's Nathan in the Street or something like that. I think
Nathan in the
Makuga
Street.
needs to be in the reboot of that. Just him, it's like, would you buy a Wildberries t-shirt? Sure. Here's a t-shirt. And just running around New York City. Or I guess LA.
Yeah, pitch that in the Wildberry fan page.
Yes. And Jen is just there holding a microphone, and she just can't do it. She's done with him. So Melissa, what do you think about drunkenly screaming your head off?
Well, I don't drink, so what do I think when other people do it? Pretty amusing. It was hilarious. I felt kind of sorry for Jessica, but it was still hilarious. I kind of felt a little bit bad for Makuga there for a little bit. He seemed like genuinely dejected, and then he went back into Wildberry's nutso mode. So I did feel sorry for him there for a little bit. On the match itself, it's kind of weird. I kind of felt like it's weird because I felt like Stacy should have gotten a tougher opponent than Makuga. But then Makuga, I mean, he really he came to play. He made it a match. So I don't know if it's okay that I mentioned this, but I mean, I think her next challenge is maybe a little bit too much of a leap from one to the other. So I don't know that was the best next match for her, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, yes, she's faced a lot of really low ball competitors, but on paper, she deserves a title match. So I think going to Rachel, especially if maybe Rachel gets put through the ringer and is given is like sort of given a path to a number one contender spot. Her and Stacey could battle that out for the next match against Sam.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things that, like, I mean, like, not to get into sports jargon again, but, like, I mean, if you think of, like, someone playing
sports.
Like, if you think of someone playing like a really like kind of like middle of the road team, and then their next match they have to play like one of the top 2 teams in the league, like there's no progression there. And I just, not that I don't think she deserves it, because I do think she deserves it, but I don't think she's prepared for it. I think, like you said, it's been low ball competition so far, so I just don't think she's prepared enough for that level of competition. And I think it's kind of doing her a disservice, because I think if she kind of faced more progressive talent, then that would give her even more of an edge when she goes up against Rachel. But that's just me.
All right.
All right, done.
Final thoughts?
Do we want to talk about? Oh yeah, I want to bring up the Emma heel watch. Do you think she was being a little particularly mean, and her meanness is showing through?
Yes. She's like a
Especially
heel for
towards
heels,
Stacey, right?
because like all the face people are like, oh yeah, Emma's great, we love her, and then she just hates and hates and hates on heel teams for no reason. She has the pompousness of the Shire Wolves sort of inside her, and I hate that she just gets so cocky about the whole situation.
Yeah, like she was very obnoxious to Stacey. Like I found it really distracting and annoying, the fact like competitors were trying to answer the questions, and she was just trying to make awkward jokes and stuff, or like her attempt at sick burns.
Yeah.
And they just came off like awkward and kind of mean, and like I don't know. And then people are the defenders are saying that like, oh, because she's standing up for herself, but when it's one thing to do it like, you know, pre-match or after match, but like while people are actually in the doing competition and like answering questions, like I thought it was a little bit kind of like obnoxious and annoying.
Yeah.
Personally.
And I need to watch the match again because I didn't really catch on that, mostly because I wasn't really watching it on my phone. I was watching it in the car and listening to it. But I'm just like, I find it funny that Emma is part of, or was part of, historically one of the worst teams in all of the Schmodown. And she has this big mouth on her now that she...
Boo!
Yeah. What, are you a fan of
Night Sisters for life. Girl power.
If you want girl power, root for the Shire Wolves. Root for someone that's good, not Night Sisters.
Yeah, let's Shire Wolves all the way, if I had to choose.
Ooh.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. I just hate how like
what about this? Or you want to talk more about Emma? Or should we move on to?
I think we should save Emma for whenever the Shy Wolves live show match actually goes up, because we're at about an hour for the first half of the show. So yeah, we need to take a little bit of a break.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to bring up this stinger real quick about.
I mean before
Mike
the match
and Brian.
Yeah, go right ahead.
About. I just want to understand what that's about. That Mike turned heel and with Brienne, and he made her like cry or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, aren't they supposed to be a part of a team? So I don't understand where that story is going to head at.
To my understanding, just Brienne wasn't there to support him during the DC match or the singles match. So if I had to guess, this is probably setting up him going to the Horsemen for support. Or better yet, after the Patriots split, because we know that's going to happen, I wouldn't be surprised if he attempts to join them I don't think he's Lions Den caliber, but that could be where he goes because I don't think Rocha has had a presence enough to really have the influence of going heel.
Yeah, so then what was the point of her leaving the Misfits and them of like gonna join like start a team if that's not gonna go anywhere? Which is kind of like what I'm wondering.
I mean, if people start to hate on Jay more, very well, I could see Stacy just leave the Vipers Den and join Brienne. I don't think that's gonna happen, but it could.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
just
know,
something to ponder.
We never really got an answer to, like, you remember like Stacey Brienne and Kalinowski talking about they have a plan, they have something coming, blah blah blah. But we never really got that answered. So I don't know if there ever really was a plan or if I don't know. What do you guys think?
She got in the car with Mike, and then they kind of drove away, and then they had the pretty prom pictures of White Bread and her at the award show, and then he asked to get her title contention, and she said no. She had to think about it or something, and then like nothing happened after that. So,
my idea was that they expected Mike to do a lot better in that first number one contenders match, and he got destroyed there. And I think he had another singles match somewhere in between that he lost. And then he lost
Clark.
the DC match against Clark.
Clark.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's all building up, and he repeatedly is failing. They probably had a lot of story ready, and his repeated losses just took it away.
So it was probably just a narration of a storyline that's kind of just they tossed aside because it didn't work in the favor of what they expected, probably.
And my idea,
so probably get no resolution to that, probably.
And right now, it's probably going to be that Mike is going to join the Four Horsemen, to go full heel, and then Brienne sort of bribes Stacy back with the title shot. Which honestly, I think it's out of character. But that's what it seems like it's going to happen.
The worst possible situation is if Mike and Brienne join the Horsemen, and then she gives the title contention to like Roke or something.
Honestly, I want to see Night Sisters be given a title shot just for their reunion.
Okay, I'm pitching.
I'm not broken up.
I'm pitching a match.
Oh God.
The Night Sisters handicap match. The Night Sisters versus Humberto Gonzalez.
Okay, you just went full meme. Sorry.
Would you guys like? I mean, that'd be pretty good, right?
No. What we need is we need a faction v faction match with the Night Sisters, Humberto Gonzalez, and Scoops McGee versus
and
the
Cucumber.
Wangers. Just imagine the possibilities. At Collision, it's like, what's the price? 6 match. Faction v faction. But the two worst. Or Scoops McGee just like, even though it's Dan, no one, it's like he wouldn't get any questions right. It's just like, who composed the score for Jaws? You know, I tried to compose a score for Jaws 7, The Bite. And he just does that for 30 seconds until he misses the question.
I got some hot scoops.
I'm sorry, we cannot take that as an answer.
So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all the recaps. Because this has been going like way past.
I think we're over an hour now.
Over an hour?
Yeah, so after the break, we will be pitching the live show entrances for Team Action. Stick around.
Hello guys. Welcome to the in-between segment. This is a transition for you and all the wonderful listeners of the show.
Some people might even call this a commercial. So since it's a commercial, we're going to promote a couple things that you should check out. Check out patreon.com/teamaction, as well as Wednesdays.
You can find us on the Action Movie Anatomy official show on the Popcorn Talk Network. Do you feel we're being serene? We certainly do.
Also, we're going to kick the shit out of every other Schmodown team in the entire league. Oh, here comes the next segment. See you in a minute.
Roka's a choker.
Bye.
Welcome back from the break. Once again, thank you, Andrew and Ben, for that glorious middle segment. As I said before, we will be pitching entrance suggestions for the live show to Andrew and Ben. Again, none of us know each other's pitches, so let's just see how this goes. Melissa, did you want to go first?
No, but I will. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, so here's my pitch. And so I think with team action, like it's kind of one extreme or the other. Like their entrances are best when they're just like either like strictly business or like balls to the wall like bananas. And so I couldn't like just go like middle of the road with it. So I kind of was like, okay, do I want to do something crazy like them coming in riding lions and breathing fire and stuff like that? Like that would be crazy. But ultimately I decided to go a bit more buttoned up business type stuff. And okay.
They come in filing the tax reform.
Okay, so here's my plan. Ben, boss that he is, calls up George R.R. Martin and says, listen, George, baby, we're going to need your storyboard for the rest of the series. And he gets George R.R. Martin to give them kind of the plans, give them the rundown and everything. Says, listen, George, I'm going to need you to write the last chapter of the final book. And I'm going to need it by this date. And because Ben's the boss, he gets it done. And so George R.R. Martin sends them a final chapter, which they come out at the live show. And on the screen, you see George R.R. Martin reciting the outline, the storyboards of the plan for finishing off the series. And then, of course, there's like no time limit here. Like their intro is going to be like 45 minutes. And so then cut to Ben and Andrew reading the final chapter of the series, spoiling the entire saga for everyone who cares, especially the Shirewolves. Like
that's hurting me though.
Rachel would be so beyond like inconsolable. She wouldn't be able to perform. She would be just like crushed. No pun intended. Okay, maybe pun intended. But and I think that would really give them a leg up. So my entrance for them would be a video from George R.R. Martin and the final chapter spoiling the entire series for a bunch of fanboys and girls, including their opponent. So that's it.
Yeah, but that would also be like detrimental to like everybody in the audience that love Game of Thrones too.
Team action maybe heals, but they're not assholes. That's just the worst thing.
That's like a World War III torture. That's something a wonderful commander would do.
It'd be like World War One. Everyone starts fighting each other, and no one really knows why, except for it's this tiny, tiny, insignificant thing that everyone forgets about.
But like seriously,
where were you? Where were you when Team Action spoiled Game of Thrones?
But seriously, like the idea of Ben having the power to get like him being like,
he has the power to make or break Game of Thrones. Like, that's pretty cool.
I mean, no.
Okay, if you didn't have a dog in the fight, it'd be pretty cool.
As someone who just watched all 7 seasons in 5 months, I don't need that spoiled for me. Okay, so after that, Danny, do you want to pitch anything?
Yeah, mine's a little less extreme and more towards the showy entertainment side because this is a live show after all. So, theatrical, I would like it to be kind of like almost like a double WWE throwback to the Undertaker days. You know how Andrew is notorious known, a legend for killing Dan Murrow. Team Action just killed DC Movie News. So my pitch is that they come out to the Undertaker theme. They have in the big screen all the people they killed off. So you have Dan Murrow dead. DC Movie dead. DCEU dead. Then they come out with an urn. On it says Shire Wolves. Andrew crushes it. Soon, the reign of the Shire Wolves, the first wives, shall also be put to rest. And then they just come into smoke and just be like, I think the crowd will go wild just to see Andrew kill another victim on stage, June 2nd.
So just to keep with the Game of Thrones theme, that reminds me of I think it's a promo for season 5. Just imagine the Hall of Faces where you just have Dan Russell,
yes,
Mike Kalinowski, and Adam Gertler just having their heads or whatever sitting on a little pedestal, and they have little really shoddy sticky notes in holes for Rachel Cushing and Clark Wolf.
Or Arya, or how, or like this, how Andrew could be like Arya and wear the face of Dan Murrow. Or the face of Rachel or something. Just
that'd be so dark. Oh my god. I do like the idea if Dan Murrow walks in and then you cut the lights and when you come back it's Andrew wearing the exact same clothes. And then you play the little da 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 da.
And see, we wouldn't ruin Game of Thrones unless people haven't watched the latest stuff.
Yeah.
Latest season. Then, oh well, sucks to be them. It's been out a year.
Yeah. So, I like how we all went Game of Thrones, because I actually have 2. They both have sort of the same bones, but a bit different. The first one, both of them involve getting fan involvement, which to me is one of the most important parts in doing something this size. Andrew and Ben would come in, and behind them is a legion of Schmoedown fans in various Team Action garb. And they'd sort of escort them to the stage with wooden swords, chanting Kings of the Schmoedown, sort of like King of the North with Jon Snow. And you think that's
like
the
a Battle
big
of
one.
the Bastards?
Yeah. Or not even Battle of the Bastards, but just in general with Jon Snow towards the later seasons. But my bigger one is it can sort of be added onto that sort of for a second part, is as Ben and Andrew get to the stage, you have all the action fans. So I've already been to the El Portal Theater, so I already know what it looks like. And in the in the front row, basically where the orchestra pit is, and all the fans with a sword bend the knee, and this is gonna be a bit, so I'm sorry. They say, "Questions gather, and now my watch begins. It shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear all belts and win no glory. I shall live and die at my post. I am the suit in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards the realms of competitors. I pledge my life and honor to the Action Army for the night and all the nights to come." And yes, I know I'm a nerd.
Yes. See, but I think that's the key there. I think like since it's a live show, you want to get as many people
Yeah.
involved, especially because I think that's where Team Action shines the most. Is its followers? It's like where it's Action Army.
Yeah. All the
So
fans are
um,
incredibly passionate.
we got to get people. We got to get people like because they're gonna want to whether we booed or cheered, like getting
Mhm.
the crowd, getting the crowd to turn on the Shire Wolves, or getting the crowd to like get Team Action like pumped. I think that's going to just be like such a badass way to make an entrance and make a
Mhm.
name for themselves because it is a live event as opposed to just like kind of just the normal stuff they would do. Because yeah, spoiling Game of Thrones, Rachel, and like the hearts of billions of nerds like me and James. But like then James and I are gonna feel defeated, and we're not gonna want to like cheer on Team Action. We're gonna like fuck these guys. They just
Yeah.
ruined Game of Thrones for us.
Okay, but yeah, you wanted people to get involved. Well, think of how involved the crowd would be when the camera pans to all of these sobbing people like, weeping in the audience.
Yeah, but
like
that's their fans. They're fans. They're never gonna have a live show event again.
Like
I'm
literally,
just
the next
saying.
show they have, there'll be torches. Will be
Melissa
set to the
will
place.
single-handedly kill the Schmodown.
Hey, hashtag Melissa for commish. It'll be canceled in 1 week. Okay, back to Danny.
That's why if having like even having either like Undertaker kind of like wrestling kind of is like theatrics because it is like kind of like a WrestleMania live event, or
Yeah.
having like the Action Army just like rally and cheer on our guys, because it is a live event.
Yeah. And
I think it would just be pretty badass.
but back to your original point, say what you will about John Roca, but what he did at the live show really is what competitors need to do for these events. Because
Mm-hmm.
as well as
I loved his.
Yeah, no,
I loved his
totally
entrance.
improv.
And I liked the real rejects one
Mm-hmm.
when they did like their funny silly rap. Wildberries throwing shirts into the audience because when you're going to pay money for a live event, that's what you want. You want entertainment.
And you want free
You
stuff.
want to feel involved with the people. You want to feel involved, and most of all, yeah, free stuff.
Yeah, but like immediately, Roca and Nos felt the attitude and the hype of the live crowd and did top 10 Boomaye. And immediately that got the motion going. I feel that getting audience involvement and getting them excited not only makes the competitors better, it makes return visits like myself more likely. That's why this one sold so many tickets so much faster.
Yeah.
Because of how ecstatic the crowd was. I guarantee you, most people from that first show are coming back for this one. And they had to open up more seats.
And then some. Yep, and then some because they probably told their friends about how awesome the first time it was hearing like Roca and them just get the audience going and the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's like I have been to like East Rutherford, like the Meadowlands for WrestleMania, and it's like the same thing. Like I don't really care anything about wrestling, but like just being in the audience and having like all the entrance songs, the crowd's getting pumped up and everything. So that's why like I lean more towards like the entertainment aspect, but I also like the fact that recruiting the Action Army, especially trying to get like the Game of Thrones, because like it'd be like half smack talk because it's like Rachel's like love is Game of Thrones, but like to turn it against them and just be like get the whole like Night's Watch of Action Army like pledge their allegiance to Ben and Andrew.
Yeah.
So I dig that entrance.
Like look at it from this. I'm going to single out my entire thing that happened that night. I got there and I met Ellis, Elliot, and Makuga, and I was offered a flask of Fireball because of my sign, #sign guy. And I could have gotten a picture as well. And then on top of that, audience involvement with the match. And at the end, they got a picture with Andrew, along with talking to him and Roca for a bit. And they also made a new friend because I just sat down next to him and we were cheering and booing and all that stuff together. That is such a magnificent catalyst that you're able to create within the Schmodown because of how passionate us fans are. To have that truly iconic and special feeling they want to create for that event, they need audience involvement. And obviously that's going to happen with Action because we don't want Shirewolves to get loved any more than they already are for no reason. So
Yeah, and like, you know, just getting, because I think like Andrew and Ben, they have a natural like for like theatrics and entertaining, and that's why it made perfect sense, you know, to have in the first one have a Wildberries because they're just fun, drunk, goofy guys. But this one is just really like team action. They can sell they're great at trivia, but they can sell like their entrances, the smack talk, and it just makes for a perfect live event. Like we're not even talking about the Star Wars thing. That's like how much Action in Shire Wolves is more exciting.
You guys want to add on anything else?
Maybe like have like them just come from like a wire from the ceiling or something. That'd be pretty cool.
They play the Mission Impossible thing in the theme and they just like zip line in.
Yep.
Actually, no, screw that. I really
Get a
want them. It's
dragon.
actually amazing.
Yeah. So, any last words?
Wang on. I don't know. Yeah, so that's the end of this week's episode. Sorry our second half went so short. We made up for that plenty in the first part. Do you guys want to plug anything before we head off?
Well, we should talk about AMA on Wednesday. They're going to be talking about probably one of the best sequels of all time, Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Because, as you know, Solo was released over the weekend. But it's more fun talking about The Empire Strikes Back. Anyway, so be sure to check that out on Wednesday. And follow me. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at DKPKP. That's DKPKP. Or on Instagram at daddy_K22.
Melissa?
Yep. Okay, so yay for action movie Anatomy. I love Han Solo. He knows. So thank you. And also you need to tell these boys that my pitch was the best. Tell them you don't care about having Game of Thrones spoiled. Like it was clearly the best.
What is better? Tens of action fans coming in with wooden swords chanting for the best team in the league.
I would rather live Game of Thrones than have it spoiled for me.
I don't want to live in a world with dragons and incest on every corner.
I mean, just for one day.
Melissa, please tag yourself.
Anyway, you can find me on Movie Trivia Schmodown and Action Army Facebook page, and you can snap me at MELYNN44.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter at Temecula Film Guy. That is at TEMECULA Film Guy. You can also find the Beltmaster on YouTube, James the Beltmaster. Check him out, #Beltmaster. Hopefully I will be able to see you guys at the live event. I will be there. And keep an eye out for a special little thing coming out this weekend. And on top of that, plug Ben and Andrew. You can find Ben on Twitter at Ben Bateman Media. You can find Andrew at Andrew Guy. And as always, don't forget to check out the group Twitter at Action Movie Anatomy and the Facebook fan pages for Action Army and Action Movie Anatomy. I believe that is everything. Oh yeah, don't forget to check out.
And our Twitter is Call to Action Podcast too.
Oh, yeah, our Twitter also at Call to Action Podcast. And Ben is writing articles for, I believe, Ben writing articles for something. Do you guys remember what it's called?
Something about the suits. Something.
Nerds in Suits, I think.
Nerds in Suits. Yep.
Right, yes. So thank you guys for watching this week's episode. I'm sorry if we get canceled next week. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.